Peter King is the ranking member on the House Homeland Security Committee, and he joins me now. Congressman King, welcome. Good to have you here today.
Good to be with you, Martha.
You know, Janet Napolitano sent you a letter, I guess, last Friday. Is that correct? And what did she say in that letter?
Yeah, she sent me a letter that arrived at the end of the day after she released it to the media, basically saying that New York has nothing to complain about because there's $275 million sitting somewhere for over the last 4 years, which New York has not claimed. This is totally untrue. It's a total distortion. It's a numbers game. And I can see this going on in a political campaign where you're trying to score a cheap point over someone. But we're talking about life and death in New York. And the fact is, New York City, New York State, the entire region is attempting to get every dollar it can for Homeland Security because we know how important it is. Any delays at all have been caused by the Department of Homeland Security because they have such a vast bureaucracy. They have so much red tape. Well, and even just last year, the government... Yeah, sure.
Let me ask you about this, because it says that the Department of Homeland Security has said that overall New York has received more anti-terror funding than it did during the Bush administration, and that over $275 million slated for port and transit security in New York since '06 has not been drawn down and hasn't been spent. Where is that money, Congressman King, and why hasn't it been spent?
Well, first of all, I don't even know what money she's talking about. I can tell you that every dollar that can be spent has been spent. All I can imagine is she's talking about money which applies over a period of 3 or 4 years, but all that money is being applied for. All that money is part of the process. New York is actively engaged for every possible penny. What she's talking about is delays by the Department of Homeland Security in releasing the money and somehow blaming that on New York. I can tell you that Mayor Bloomberg and the state, the MTA, the Port Authority are actively engaged every day with the Department of Homeland Security in attempting to get all the funding that it can. Now, for Janet Napolitano to say that on Friday night, I spoke to her on Thursday and I asked her why the cuts were made. She never mentioned this. Nobody in the Department of Homeland Security has no one has ever said a word to New York about any money not being expended. This is a totally phony argument. It's a ridiculous argument. It's a numbers game they're playing.
Yeah.
They're talking about money that's in the system. It's just wrong. It's an accounting trick at best. And it shouldn't be done when we're talking about life and death. Yeah,
well, that's very interesting to me that you spoke to her on Thursday and she didn't even bring up this pile of money, because in the letter it sounds like that's the main thing that is making her point. She's saying, well, this money's sitting on the sidelines. Now, it says that there's going to be a 25% port security cut and a 27% cut in mass transit security. You know, as somebody who works in this area every day, you do sometimes get the feeling that, you know, in the broader sense, there's not an understanding that New York City is a target. It's been proven again and again.
It has been proven again and again, and I've seen also all the threat analyses. And no matter what system they use, and this is the Department of Homeland Security's own formulas, New York is almost in a class by itself, unfortunately, as far as being a terrorist target. And Martha, you're right. You know, you do go around in New York, and our subway system, unfortunately, there's several million people ride it every day. There's 1,000 entrances and exits over 400 stations. In addition to that, we have the commuter lines, Metro North, Long Island Railroad. They are the hardest to defend. We absolutely have to have the technology. We have to have this manpower. We have to have the training that's needed to try to protect the mass transit system. And it's just the money is not coming in the way it should. And also, you know, Martha, one final point. The President of the United States was in New York on Thursday getting a photo op at the police department and with the mayor. And he thanked the mayor for the great job he's doing on Homeland Security. Why didn't the President, man to man, face to face, tell Mayor Bloomberg that somehow there's this hidden money that the city is not drawing down? This is absolutely despicable conduct by the Obama administration and the Department of Homeland Security.
All right, very quickly, if you can, what will happen if this money, these two 25% cuts are made? How will people see a difference in how we're protected?
We will not have the protection that we need. And I don't want to go into details, but we will not have the sensors we need. We will not have all the communications that are needed. I will not have the training. This is a real hit to New York, and the Department of Homeland Security should stop trying to cover it up and should give us the money that we need, as do other parts of the country. But no one needs it more than New York, unfortunately.
All right, well, we'd love to hear.
Long Island Congressman Peter King is a ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee. He's joining us right now from Seaford, Long Island. Congressman, nice to have you here.
Good morning, Rosanna. How are you?
Good. So have you heard about this latest information that Shahzad had other plans if this Times Square bombing went well?
Yeah, Rosanna, actually, as you know, I can't confirm exactly everything you're saying, but let me just tell you, yes, he is talking quite a bit. There were other targets that he had, and this is a case that continues to unfold. It's far from over as far as the investigation, and also I think a lot of people made a mistake in trying to write him off as just being a lone wolf, and also trying to even ridicule him because of the fact the bomb didn't go off. This was a very well-constructed plot, and it's not over. That's the reality we have to face.
Congressman, do you think there are going to be more arrests in this case?
Rosanna, there may be. I can tell you this case is unfolding. What happened in Times Square was not the end of it, and also looking into whether there are others, if they were trained, what they plan to do. And I'm not trying to be cute with you. It's just that this is being somewhat tightly held because, again, this is serious stuff we're talking about, and there's no doubt at all that this was more than just one person going into Times Square on a Saturday night. There was a lot more planned here.
Congressman, let's talk about funding being cut to New York's mass transit system by $53 million by Homeland Security. You and Janet Napolitano seem to be going at it with exactly how much funding we have in the bank. Explain what's going on.
Yeah, I wish I could, because I'm not sure what Janet Napolitano was talking about. Friday night, for the first time ever, she said there's $275 million that's just waiting for New York to take, and New York has not taken it. Yesterday, she added another $60 million. I have no idea what she's talking about. We've spoken to every agency in the state, spoken to the city. We've been talking with the Department of Homeland Security for 4 years on funding. No one has ever mentioned this. I'm absolutely convinced it's a numbers game. There's absolutely nothing to what she's saying. And worse than that, let's say there was. Let's say there were money sitting there in a bank account. Why did they keep quiet about it for 4 years? Why, when the president was in to see the mayor and the police commissioner on Thursday, why didn't he tell them this money was there? This is a totally phony charge being made by Secretary Napolitano. What she should be doing is working with the city and the state to make sure we get the money we need. We are the #1 terrorist target in the world, and rather than her making up numbers and changing the numbers from day to day and changing her story from day to day, she should admit that New York did not get the money it needed, and she should sit down with Mayor Bloomberg and the police commissioner and the MTA officials and work out exactly how much money New York needs, not play this numbers game, which I can assure you makes absolutely no sense at all, and it's based on absolutely nothing.
Well, let me ask you something. You think that she feels that she can get away with it because she's, sounding off from D.C.? Or is there money somewhere that we don't know in New York State and we're not spending it?
Rosanna, if there were money anywhere, wouldn't the Department of Homeland Security have gone to the city and to the state sometime over the last 4 years and say, this money is sitting there? Because I can tell you every day the state and the city are working very closely with the Department of Homeland Security, trying to draw down money, getting projects approved. And even though there's frustration and delay on the part of the city and the state because of the red tape with the Department of Homeland Security, no one has ever mentioned about any hidden money. I think what she's trying to do is talk about money that's maybe going to be spent over a number of years, but everyone knows that. If you have a 3-year plan or a 4-year plan, obviously it's not spent in the first year. That's all she could be talking about. But if that's what it is, that's a numbers game. That is, people. That's what happened on Wall Street. People counting money 2 and 3 times. So it's wrong. And this issue is too serious for that. We're not talking about building a bridge somewhere or some kind of political pork barrel project. We're talking about life and death for the people of New York. We're talking about our subways. We're talking about our bridges. We're talking about our ports. We are the #1 terrorist target in the world. And for her to play these kind of games, remember just last week her excuse was that she had given us an extra $100 million in 2009. Well, if they thought the city had not spent, or the state, $275 million, why would they have given us another $100 million? I mean, these stories don't add up, the numbers don't add up, and I wish that she, Secretary Napolitano, would do her job and stop playing this crazy numbers game, which is going to put New Yorkers at risk.
Well, let me ask you one quick question. When you got the letter from her, because she sent you a letter on Friday?
Right.
Right. Did you get a little nervous when you got a letter from Janet Napolitano?
No, I was just wondering what's she thinking of now, because I met her the day before. She had no excuse for why the money wasn't there. By the way, even that, sending out a letter at 4:45 on a Friday afternoon, it's just it's a cheap political trick. This is too important an issue for New York to play those kind of games.
Congressman King, go cut through